How we doing? I'm Cam Rogers. Follow me on Twitter at Mr. Rogers99. Just went through all of the latest NFL headlines. This is the biggest one that I am tracking right now. The deal with Jarvis Landry. What's going on? Is there going to be a trade? So from what I understand, it looks like Miami Dolphins and Jarvis Landry are leaning towards a trade. And one of the latest developments that came out yesterday, Ian Rappaport tweeted, the Dolphins have given franchise-tagged wide receiver Jarvis Landry and his representative permission to seek and facilitate a trade. It will take cooperation from all parties. So something is simmering here. It looks like, despite the franchise tag, that Jarvis Landry is moving on from Miami. So with that, I have 5 teams guaranteed to make an offer to the Dolphins for the slot wide receiver in Jarvis Landry. I'm counting you down from number 5 to number 1. 5 less likely, number 1 more so likely in terms of my rankings. So let's check in with number 5 here, the Buffalo Bills. And just a quick note here about the franchise tag and all that. So Landry received the non-exclusive rights franchise tag, which means a team can still sign him, but that team would owe the Dolphins 2 first-round picks. Full stop. Not happening. No team is giving the Dolphins 2 first-round picks for a slot wide receiver. So that's why the trade is more possible here, and sources indicate Landry is worth at least a 3rd-round pick. So that's the baseline. So here you see the Buffalo Bills at number 5. Okay, their priority, securing a quarterback, but I think Landry is a possibility here. The Bills have a 3rd-round pick and a couple 2nd-round picks to play with as well. So they have the draft capital in terms of making an offer. Their top wide receiver was Deontay Thompson. So yeah, they need help. And no matter who comes in as the quarterback, I think Landry would be a worthwhile addition here. And you might hear me say this a couple times, but Landry is a rookie quarterback's dream because he is a security blanket that rookie quarterbacks really love to utilize, right? Because when you're a young quarterback and you're still going through the motions of learning to be a professional player, having a guy that you can always rely on is critical. We always say that tight ends are loved by rookies. Well, a guy like Jarvis Landry is certainly one at that. So we got the Buffalo Bills at number 5. Let's check in with number 4 here, San Francisco 49ers. Wide receiver is a need, perhaps not the slot, but still, the 49ers have the money to pay up for the guy. So why not bring him in, put the best potential team around Jimmy Garoppolo? And all the 49ers fans, I'm just seeing it right now in the comments section. Trent Taylor, Trent Taylor, Trent Taylor. I get it, I get it, I get it. But if the 49ers have money left over after, say, they sign an Andrew Norwell or what have you, why not make a run at this guy and offer up a trade to the Dolphins? And you could certainly afford Jarvis Landry's salary. I would argue, again, that the 49ers would probably have to address the interior of their offensive line first. So that's either drafting Quentin Nelson or going and grabbing an Andrew Norwell, Justin Pugh, Jack Mewhort, the list goes on. But I'd also think grabbing Jarvis Landry would be a smart move on their part too. So also hate to break the news to 49ers fans out there. I don't think Allen Robinson is going to test the open market. So your second best option here, Jarvis Landry, could go down. So the 49ers are at number 4. I see Aaron in the comments section saying Landry to the Browns. Well, I got the Browns at number 3, Aaron. Appreciate that comment, sir. Let's take a look at the Browns. So they have a lot of salary cap space. That we know. We also know that after Gordon and after Coleman at wide receiver, not really that great. Rashard Higgins, Ricardo Lewis, they're nice complementary pieces. And I will note Coleman does have an injury history, and really, you never just know with Josh Gordon sometimes. So Jarvis Landry could provide some continuity, some consistency to the wide receiver position for whoever is the quarterback for the Browns. And rookie or Kirk Cousins, I think Landry fits well in what offensive coordinator Todd Haley likes to do and wants to do. But in terms of a Kirk Cousins situation, I think that pairing would really work out well for Cleveland. I think a Case Keenum pairing would work out really well for the Cleveland Browns as well. So really, Cleveland can't go wrong here if they were to grab Jarvis Landry. Whoever is the quarterback there, I think it's going to be a very fine situation, unless it's Deshaun Kaiser, because he just isn't very good. So the Cleveland Browns, they could really use a reliable pass catcher, and I think that Kirk Cousins, Jarvis Landry connection would be pretty darn solid for years to come. There you see at the bottom of your screen, Landry would be a rookie quarterback's dream. No doubt about that. All right, let's check in with my team number 2, guaranteed to offer something for Mr. Jarvis Landry. We got the Chicago Bears, and we all know that they are in dire need of a wide receiver. When you look at their roster, Dontrell Inman and Kendall Wright and Kevin White, who's barely seen the football field, not exactly wide receivers that scare opposing cornerbacks. So it's a huge need, and they've been tied to Calvin Ridley at number 8 overall, which is fine and all of that. But let's say the Bears make a run at Jarvis. Then they don't have to get Calvin Ridley at number 8 overall because, number 1, you're already reaching for the guy at that number. Number 2, you can address other positions such as inside linebacker. Mitchell Trubisky is a precision passer. And I think he needs a security blanket. And I think Jarvis Landry can be that guy. And like I said, Kendall Wright, Dontrell Inman, by the way, Josh Bellamy, all those guys are going to be free agents too. And who knows if any of those 3 are coming back to Chicago. So Landry, Mitchell Trubisky, I know Chat Sports' own Tom Downey has mentioned how it's just like a fantastic pairing for the two. I would totally agree with that. We disagree on Dez Bryant, but we agree on this. The Chicago Bears would be very smart to make an offer to the Miami Dolphins to bring in Jarvis Landry. I think that connection there with Trubisky and Jarvis would be very worthwhile and probably a refreshing sight because 2017 was not very good for the aerial attack for the Chicago Bears. All right, they're at number 2, which means there's a better option out there. The best option for me, the Baltimore Ravens. Joe Flacco loves his checkdowns, folks. He's known as a deep ball thrower, chucking it down the field in the past few years to Derek Mason, Torrey Smith, Anquan Bolden, et cetera, et cetera. Well, you know what? Joe Flacco a lot of times will be throwing the football within 5, 6, 7 yards. Who does that the best in the NFL? Perhaps Jarvis Landry. So I think it makes a lot of sense here, and I think the Ravens have to help out Joe Flacco. He hasn't had a good receiver since Torrey Smith or Anquan Bolden. Let's face it, he hasn't. And that's why his numbers have struggled. People are going to point at me in the comment section saying Joe Flacco is just not a good quarterback. You know what? The Ravens have done a very poor job at putting a good team around Flacco. That has been a main concern. The Ravens also are not in the greatest salary cap situation. They're actually pretty strapped right now, but I expect them to make some salary cap cuts. Jeremy Maclin, Danny Woodhead, perhaps Ladarius Webb, and free up some space to bring in Jarvis Landry. You may recall the story that came out, I believe it's maybe a couple months ago, that the Ravens were interested in grabbing Jarvis Landry last offseason. So I think it makes the most sense here. Baltimore Ravens check in as my number 1 team, guaranteed to make an offer for Jarvis Landry. Let's summarize my list here. We got the Ravens at 1, Chicago Bears at 2, Cleveland Browns at 3, San Francisco 49ers at number 4, and the Buffalo Bills at number 5.